Live, you're watching KOIN 6 News at 4.
We all want a home that's safe and clean, even if it's not a mansion or a house, even if it's low-income housing.
Right. Tonight, tenants at one Portland housing complex say their landlords are ignoring health and safety needs, and they're doing it while taking your taxpayer dollars.
KOIN 6's Elise Haas has spent 14 months investigating their concerns, talking to tenants and uncovering court filings that show management knew about serious issues even while it publicly denied there were problems.
It wasn't uncommon to walk in the stairwells and find somebody with a needle in their arm or smoking out of a crack pipe.
We have homeless people in the neighborhood who like to rush their way into our entrance behind people.
There was a guy sleeping right outside the door on the Union Station side, and I couldn't get out with my service dog. And that was the guy that popped up and stuck a gun right between my eyes.
Residents at the Yards Apartments in Old Town shared these photos with us. They say intruders were urinating in stairwells and often hiding in overflowing trash rooms.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
We wanted to see how bad it was. KOIN 6 obtained crime data that shows residents at the Yards called 911 more than 950 times between 2016 and 2018 for things like assaults, burglaries, harassment, disturbances, suspicious subjects, and unwanted people.
It was a pretty tense situation here. Police had their guns drawn.
2 years ago, we reported on a shooting outside the Yards Apartments.
One witness believes he and his girlfriend live in a tent beneath the Broadway Bridge.
Meanwhile, government health and safety inspections I obtained for the last 3 years on issues including bed bugs, broken windows, and defective smoke detectors show the Yards failed standards more than 20% of the time. Home Forward, Multnomah County's taxpayer-funded housing authority, owns this affordable housing complex. It hires a private company called Income Property Management, or IPM, to take care of day-to-day maintenance.
You know, affordable, yes. Safe, far from it.
Tenants say their concerns about safety, security, and maintenance are often ignored by IPM.
Income Property Management, get out of our yard!
In 2018, tenants were so frustrated with IPM and Home Forward that they formed a union.
Therefore, the tenants at the Yards Apartments are demanding the following from Home Forward.
Ultimately, the tenants union leader, Brian Jackson, decided to take IPM to court, accusing IPM of retaliating against a union organizer and operating the Yards as a slumlord. In written court filings, IPM lawyers said all the accusations about dangerous living conditions were false. But I obtained depositions from the lawsuit, where IPM's property manager had to answer under oath whether the accusations were true.
Did you ever hear about drug dealing at the Yards Apartments?
Yes.
Homeless people openly urinating in a hallway at the Yards Apartments?
Yes.
Had you ever heard that homeless people were smoking crack in the stairwells at the Yards Apartments?
Yes.
How did she answer all of these questions?
Yes.
That sounds like a lot of serious issues that could get someone very upset, doesn't it?
It could be, yes.
Jackson's lawsuit argues IPM profits by taking as much government assistance as possible while spending as little as possible to make repairs to the Yards Apartments. Many of these people are one missed paycheck away from being homeless, which made us question this publicly funded housing authority, the companies they're hiring, the decisions they're making, and the money they're spending. So I went to the head of Home Forward, Michael Bonacore. Do you feel that there's any issues that need to be addressed with IPM, or do you feel like they're doing a satisfactory job?
Yeah, we are constantly evaluating all of the companies that we contract with for property management and all kinds of services, and we really see it as doing our best to work in partnership, and when there are issues to sort of, focus on them, figure out how to problem solve around them.
So you think they're doing a satisfactory job?
I do.
Since our initial reports on issues at the Yards, Bonacore told us management budgeted for more security cameras. They installed windows on trash rooms to reduce mugging, exterminated cockroaches and rodents, updated the electronic entry system, and constructed a fence to keep intruders out. IPM has hired a security company to do random patrols 7 days a week. Plus, an IPM staff person is on shift 5 days a week to help with security.
So it is a constant challenge to think about, how do you do everything that you want to do to take care of your residents who are economically vulnerable when you don't always have all of the resources that you need in order to do that work.
Tenants we talked to don't believe Home Forward is requiring enough from IPM. Tenants want 24/7 on-site security for protection from these chronic issues.
They're not as committed to making this place a safe place. They're more interested in money.
Tenants pay their rent ranging from $700 to $1,300 per unit a month on a building that is exempt from paying any property taxes. A portion of that rent goes to pay IPM its $70,000 a year property management fee.
They have the manpower to outmaneuver most people. Little to nobody will fight back.
Tenants say all they're asking for when they go home is to feel safe and secure. In Northwest Portland, Elise Haas, KOIN 6 News.
We reached out to IPM for comment, but they said they couldn't talk because of Jackson's lawsuit.
But coming up in the next hour, this tenants union leader has filed an additional complaint suing the president of IPM himself for millions of dollars, claiming retaliation for making these safety and security complaints that we just told you about. His personal story and battle in court is still ahead on KOIN 6 News at 5.
Live, you're watching KOIN 6 News at 5:30. Watching out for you.
Income property management. Get out of our yard.
Tenants fed up with dangerous living conditions.
To go after a corporation is almost like housing suicide.
This is a conspiracy to evict a tenant and who had complained.
A Portland man says he's facing retaliation for speaking up against dangerous living conditions at his low-income apartment complex.
He's fighting back in multi-million-dollar lawsuits that say the president of the management company targeted him for eviction and the housing authority allowed unsafe conditions to happen.
Elise Haas watching out for you, spending months seeking answers from the management company and the housing authority that's in charge of ensuring vulnerable people have a safe place to live.
This Portland man lives here at the Yards Apartments in Portland's Old Town. Home Forward, Multnomah County's taxpayer-funded housing authority, owns this complex, and they hire out a private company called Income Property Management, better known as IPM, and they're supposed to take care of the day-to-day maintenance.
They'd be wielding knives, and one came after me with a bat.
Disabled Navy veteran Brian Jackson says his apartment was plagued with safety, security, and maintenance problems.
Rats, cockroaches, people that don't live there that are coming in off the street and urinating in the stairwells and in the elevators.
Under oath, the IPM property manager at the Yards admitted Jackson's accusations are true.
Were you ever aware of a cockroach issue at the Yards Apartments?
Yes.
Were you ever aware of assaults at the Yards Apartments?
Yes.
Were you ever aware of homeless people openly urinating in a hallway at the Yards Apartments?
Yes.
Income property management. Get out of our yard.
When his initial attempt to get the management company to address the issues failed, Jackson formed a tenants union in 2018. Jackson says that move led to an eviction notice.
I became the problem. Which was their solution to that is just get rid of the problem.
According to the notice, IPM says that Jackson violated his lease by misrepresenting himself as an IPM employee to a firefighter when a fire broke out here at the apartments last summer. That's a claim that Jackson says isn't true, so he decided to sue.
I've spent the last 3.5 years of my life defending myself and having to watch my back with a management company that thinks that they can do anything they want.
Jackson's lawsuit against IPM accuses IPM of retaliating against a union organizer and operating the Yards as a slumlord. Michael Fuller is Jackson's attorney.
I think they underestimated Mr. Jackson. I don't think they understood the power of the tenants union, and I don't think they understood that as a community we're not just going to sit by and let them abuse the poorest among us.
Now, Jackson is also suing the president of IPM, Jeff Reingold, for up to $2.5 million, alleging invasion of privacy and intentional infliction of emotional harm. According to the lawsuit, Reingold organized an illegal conspiracy between his corporation's attorneys and management. Following 5 hours of testimony and hundreds of emails, Jackson's lawyer says he uncovered evidence showing Jeff Reingold had his employee, Angie Henry, try to dig up dirt on Jackson.
So why would you spend your time, and why would you hire your attorneys to be looking through old emails of Mr. Jackson that could be considered shady in April of 2019?
I was told to.
By who?
By Jeff Reingold.
In emails I obtained through the court case, Henry writes to Reingold about Brian Jackson just 3 days after our news coverage on tenants protesting against IPM.
Just a flavor of what an this resident is at the yards. This is the resident that has pretty much single-handedly created the current vitriol at the building and brought in the PTO.
Reingold replied to her via email. During my interview with the leader of Home Forward, Michael Bonacore, I read him parts of that reply.
And it says this: I feel your pain, Angie, but in a funny way, this might help. It seems to me when individual tenants like this overreach, which seems to be the case here, there's a pretty good chance that Tim and Home Forward will take a little bit harsher stance. Thanks for sending, and try not to let this idiot get to you. There will be a resolution of some sort, and we will move on. Jeff, what's your reaction to that?
So I think this potentially touches on litigation, so I think I probably shouldn't comment on it.
Jackson's lawsuit claims IPM's president, Jeff Reingold, is trying to silence and evict him.
And Mr. Jackson was interfering with their income stream, and we've now found out what they're willing to do to somebody who stands in their way.
We wanted to talk to the president of IPM, Jeff Reingold, but he declined our interview because of Jackson's lawsuit. I asked the leader of Home Forward if he felt like IPM was doing a satisfactory job.
We've continued to just work on this issue with IPM and be really clear about where we're trying to get to in the relationship with the residents and with the conditions at the building.
Since that interview, Jackson has filed a third lawsuit against both Income Property Management and Home Forward for up to another $2.5 million for allowing unsafe and unsecure conditions to go on the past 2 years. Tenants say after unionizing and going public with their problems, management has made several health, safety, and security improvements, but say they have taken a step back by scaling down private security patrols.
This is about protecting the tenants from any company that thinks it's appropriate to just belittle or barrage low-income tenants to their advantage.
Jackson says he's not about to give up his legal battle.
We started this fight almost 2 years ago, and I see to finish it one way or another. I'm not going to walk away from it.
And Jackson's lawyer says that in the depositions he discovered that the eviction notice was flawed because it included the wrong date of the alleged incident. And ever since then, Jackson says that they have made no further attempts to try and evict him. So Jackson is still at the yards, and he's continuing his fight. In Northwest Portland, Elise Haas, KOIN 6 News.
And you can read much more about this story right now at KOIN.com.